LinkedIn is a great platform to reach your B2B target audience, and they also have quite a few options for re-engaging with companies who've interacted with your brand before. Just like most other platforms, there are a few nuances and idiosyncrasies in LinkedIn that create its own set of best practices. So in today's video, I want to run through a handful of those best practices covering creative, audience selection, performance optimization, and a few more. Although this is a LinkedIn ads remarketing best practices video, it wouldn't be honest for me to not mention that you should try and test other ad platforms before you utilize LinkedIn, simply because LinkedIn is so much more expensive than the other channels. Any of these other options here for Google, Facebook, YouTube, any of these will allow you to do a lot of the same website retargeting audiences that we'll talk about in a little bit. And they each have their own engagement audiences for you to leverage and target your audience. But if you haven't run retargeting anywhere else and you're trying to just get started with it, I would suggest you start with these platforms before you use LinkedIn, just to try and save a little additional cost. But if you're already running remarketing here, or you really need to lean into the LinkedIn platform itself, then the rest of this video is what you're looking for. First, I want you to utilize audiences from all sources in LinkedIn. As I already alluded to on the previous slide, there are different audiences for websites and engagement. And if we hop into the LinkedIn ads platform, to create different audiences, I'm going to head to Plan, go to Audiences, and then if I click on Create Audience, you can see here that there are a lot of different audience types, whether it's uploading a company or contact list, offline events, or anything listed under the Retarget By section. Company page, event, LinkedIn lead gen form, single image, and video are all going to be based on engagement with individual users on the LinkedIn platform. So if they saw your lead generation form, if they watched a video, if they followed your company page, any of those types of actions. And then website will allow you to retarget people based on the different actions they took on your website. I'm not going to go too far into this. If you want to know the different parameters you can target people by on LinkedIn, check out the video at the top of the screen right now. But for the sake of this video, I think it's important to make sure that you're utilizing different audience sources within your retargeting campaign on LinkedIn, because simply targeting people only by how they engaged with your website or only how they engaged with certain instances of your brand on the LinkedIn platform doesn't include everybody that you should be reaching back out to. So I encourage you to go through each of these different audience types and try and figure out which ones will make the best sense for you. But while you're doing that, I need you to keep two things in mind. Audience size plays a big factor on LinkedIn because the larger the audience, the lower the cost. The bigger your audience gets, the less it's going to cost you to target those users, just like any other push strategy on a social platform. But as your audience gets bigger and you are saving costs, your ads are going to be less targeted to the individual users within that list. So you're going to lose some specificity by having larger audiences, but you will be saving on cost. So there's going to be a balance between the two. And one thing I do want to mention is the audience minimum on LinkedIn if you're not worried about cost and you're really going for specificity. So I've created a shell campaign in our placeholder account just to show you what this will look like. If you ever forget what the audience minimum is, let's just scroll down here. I'm going to add in quick attributes saying that somebody works at, some company of people who just makes videos for the internet, I guess. So as you can see here, by targeting just paid media pros, the audience is going to be too small. So if we want to know what audience minimums we need to hit, click on the help section, audience size. You'll see here that your minimum audience required to run advertising is 300 members. So again, if you're going for specific lists, they need to be at least 300 members or else you won't be able to run them. On the other side of the audience strategy, we also want to make sure that we keep exclusions up to date. As I've mentioned, with LinkedIn being expensive, you don't want to continue targeting people over and over again if you've already engaged with them with that specific call to action. So in this same campaign, where I have everything set up that it is too small, you'll see that you can exclude people in your audience, and you can do that either through a list upload, which are going to be the company and contact targeting lists, or you can exclude them through retargeting lists, whether it's the company page, events, all of the same audience sources that we saw in the Audience Manager tab. Every one of those audiences can be used as an exclusion as well. A prime example of this would be somebody who opens and submits the lead gen form. There is a preset audience for that on LinkedIn now, so that's likely an audience of users you're going to want to exclude so that they don't fill out the form again, because that's just a waste of money. Next, I think it's important to always test multiple different ad formats in LinkedIn. As long as you have the budget to continue to create additional campaigns to support these different ad formats, in my experience, it's always interesting to see whether a single image, carousel, video, message ad, or some other format will perform best in your retargeting campaigns. I know single image ads are the easiest, and they're probably the ones you're most familiar with, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be the best fit for retargeting. So just like a prospecting campaign, make sure you're testing multiple different ad formats to get in front of your target audience in a number of different ways. And there's one ad format on here that most people skip over and don't test at all, and I think that is a huge miss for retargeting, and that's text ads. Text ads can be a great use for retargeting, because even though they have higher impression counts and lower click-through rates, they also have very inexpensive cost per click. And if you can get the same audience member to click on your ads for $1 or $2 in a text ad format as opposed to $5 or $6 in a sponsored content or single image post in the newsfeed, that sounds like a win to me. Odds are you won't get nearly as many clicks, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a good incremental performance driver. You can see the title card over here to the right. We already have a video that talks you through why you should use LinkedIn text ads. You can check out that video at the top of the screen right now. Regardless of which ad format you use, I want you to test multiple different calls to action in your LinkedIn retargeting campaigns. Do your best to not repeat the call to action from the original campaign, because if the user didn't do it the first time, they probably don't want to convert on that the second time. Additionally, try and avoid very high or very low funnel calls to action. In the very rudimentary funnel we have off to the right, video views, probably not the best fit for this, maybe even a view blog post, because you're just paying for somebody to come to your site and you're not getting any information out of them. On the other end, whether it's a demo request or a purchase, both of these are pretty bottom funnel actions that users likely won't take on LinkedIn unless they have taken incremental actions before that. Something in the middle is going to be a little bit better sweet spot. People might want to download content through a lead generation form, visiting your website, maybe register for a webinar, or get a personalized brochure, and then that helps them move through to the additional actions later on. Now, if they've already completed those actions, that might be where a demo request or a purchase comes into play, but it's not going to be the best fit for just somebody who's been to your website, hasn't converted on any other action, to then retarget them to a demo request or a purchase. It's just too big of a jump. Next, I want you to set your ads to rotate evenly in the LinkedIn ads platform. Let's hop back into that example campaign. And I'm starting with no ads to show you where the setting lives so that you won't be surprised when it shows up later. So first, we just need to create ads in general. So I'm just going to browse existing content, and we'll utilize the couple of fake ads that we have set up over here and click sponsor. Now, currently I only have 2 ads in this campaign, but as you can see from LinkedIn, they suggest creating 5 ads to improve performance. I don't exactly know where the number 5 came in, but from our side, you should have at least 4 ad creatives active in every LinkedIn ads campaign, because that ensures that you're going to get the full impression coverage due to LinkedIn's frequency caps. Essentially, every ad can be shown to a user once every 48 hours, and having 4 ad creatives will ensure that you are eligible to target that user 4 times within that 48-hour span. But you'll also notice that when I added these creatives in place, we still have the option to add more creatives through existing content or creating new ads. But then you'll also notice this ads in this campaign and this little gear icon over here. This is where the ad rotation setting lives, and you have to have creatives in place to be able to set it up. So if I click on this, it'll open up the ad rotation options. All of your campaigns are going to default to optimize for performance, and LinkedIn does recommend this, but I don't, simply because I want to make the choice as to which of my ads is performing best based on a number of different metrics in the platform. So you would just need to come down to rotate ads evenly and then click out of it, and you're all set. But if you're using multiple different ad formats, multiple different calls to action, and you're leveraging 4 ad creatives per campaign, we need to make sure that we monitor our reach and frequency so we don't oversaturate the audience. So I'm going to jump into a client account real quick. I'm sorry a lot of this has been blurred out, but you can see here that we have a range of spend from $910 down to about $400. Lead performance is very mixed, but we have 79,000 impressions. But to monitor your reach and frequency, we would just need to come up and change our columns. I believe you can find these under the delivery section that is already set up, but I just want to customize my columns to make it so we don't have to blur out too much. Click customize. LinkedIn already remembered that I wanted these to be set up this way, but if you just scroll down a little bit, the reach and average frequency are going to be set up here. So I'm going to click update. And now you can see the reach and average frequency for the account, and then for each individual campaign. So the reach on LinkedIn is defined by the number of unique member accounts with at least one impression. So think of this as effectively individual users that have seen your ad at least once. And then average frequency is the average number of impressions shown to each member account that received at least one impression. So in this account, we've reached a little over 21,000 users, and on average, each of those 21,000 users has seen the ad about 3.7 times. That seems like a lot since it's just the past 7 days, but if we start looking at the campaigns themselves, it tells a bit of a different story. The top 4 have only a 1 frequency, but it's really just this campaign down here at the bottom that has a really high frequency. And we knew that that was going to be a problem with the campaign, but we were willing to run it anyway, and so far it's performing pretty well. So in this instance, average frequency here would be a red flag to me because it's kind of high, but the other performance supports keeping it this high. But if you start to see your performance flagging or your campaign slowing down, check on your average frequency and your reach over the campaign's lifetime and see if you might be hitting too high of a threshold there. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the bidding and cost control strategies for LinkedIn ads. We've talked about this in another video on our channel. You can check out the link at the top of the screen right now for that. But just really quick for this video, we're going to hop back into our staging account. And if we're in the budget and schedule section, we want to control our costs and potentially control our reach and frequency by changing our bidding option to manual or enhanced. We would then set the bid very low to try and keep all of our costs as low as possible for these users within this audience. This is the same type of strategy that we would be using for text ads. We're trying to get the same users for a lower cost. But additionally, when you keep your costs low on LinkedIn, you're going to miss out on some impressions because you're going to lose out on that auction for that user. Now, while that might sound bad, that means that your ads that do show have a higher chance of having a lower cost per click because that user is a little less expensive than some other ones. So you start off by having a restricted ad cost per click, which will help you keep your reach and frequency down. And then as you start to see performance and you want to be able to reach more users and you've decided you've got some leniency with your frequency numbers, you can come in and start to raise your bid. Now we're going to win a little bit more, but we're still below the recommended bid of $11.50. As you scale up your bid, you're going to win more auctions. You'll have more impressions, but you also have a chance of running up your reach and frequency numbers as well as seeing higher cost per click. So keep your bids low to start and then scale up as you see good performance and you want to try and find additional scale. And that does it for our list of best practices for LinkedIn ads remarketing. If I left off something that you have a question about, or if you're curious about retargeting across multiple different platforms, feel free to leave us a note in the comments below. Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.